like I'm probably gonna have to promote on Discord. One second. All right. Let's go, Rob. Yeah, I don't think since I got rid of the JJ bot that it's automatically posting, so I had to post manually. It's all good. So I don't have anything super exciting to do today. I'm just gonna do a couple tune-ups. That's what I've got to do today. It just goes through the bike, checks everything out, and then yep, pretty simple. I think this one we gotta replace the tube in. It's no good. I wish the angle was better and I could actually see shit for chat, but it's what it is. There. You feel any better, Robert? See what's causing a flat on this one. House looks okay. I really need one of those, like the trackers I keep seeing on TikTok. That would be nice for this. I don't feel anything. But I'm gonna go ahead and replace this anyway, so I don't like if it's going flat, I don't want to reuse it. Anyway, how's everybody doing today? It's kind of dead here in town. There's a event going on, and anytime there is anything that happens in this town, the shop's just pretty much dead. So should be nice and quiet. Although the last week when I did this, a bunch of people came in, so you might get a bunch of people. Who knows? But just standard bike maintenance. The thing about working on bikes is they're really, really simple, and nothing I'm doing here on like your normal tune-ups and stuff is nothing you couldn't do yourself. I mean, granted, institutional knowledge of knowing how to do it does help, but for the most part, the biggest thing bikes need is just cleaned half the time. If you are changing tires, don't use your thumbs. That hurts. Use the ball of your hand. and you can roll them on easier, and it doesn't hurt your hands. And if you are inflating your tires, you don't want to just go straight up to pressure. You want to put a little bit in and then check. Make sure your bead's even all the way around. You don't want a tire coming off the rim and you're ruining your new tube. So bring it up a little bit in pressure and then check it, and you can top it off. If not, you'll need a new tube again. And then it's good just to inspect the tire. I didn't see anything in this one, but also didn't see what caused their flat. But I'm assuming it's more likely they just didn't didn't inflate the tire, which people tend to not do, which causes more flats than anything. The other thing that causes a ton of flats is your valve stem. You want this guy straight. If it's at an angle, it'll create a pocket on this side. If it's angled this way, they'll create a pocket, and that'll just rupture internally. And that, between that and low pressure causing pinch flats, cause more flats than actual like running things over. Like half the time people pull a bike out of the shed in the spring, and like you just innately tap the brakes and the tire is low, and it'll spin the rim in the tire, which puts the valve stem at an angle, and like airing that up over time will cause your flat. Or not enough air pressure, you hit a bump, the tire completely compresses, pinches the tube, and you have a flat. That is about 90% of my flat repairs, is just that. So keep your pressure up in your tires. With derailleurs, if you are taking the wheel off on the rear and you're putting it back on, as long as you put it in the hardest gear, so let off your shifter, you put chain on the first cog, you pull the derailleur back, pops into place. Super easy. You don't have to fight it. That's a bit loose. You're more welcome to ask questions if you have any. Adjust that. V-brake adjustment's pretty easy. You have two screws. They adjust your spring tension. If it's rubbing on this side, you would tighten this one a little bit. Same on the other. You just want it as close as it will get without rubbing. Pretty simple. A little snug there. I think I want to check that hanger. So I'm going to check the derailleur hanger because 90% of shifting problems has to do with the part this attaches to, which is the derailleur hanger. This guy here. I'll show you a little closer. So, see where I'm looking at here. This guy is the derailleur hanger. It is soft. It is meant to bend and break. That is its entire job. A lot of shifting problems is because the bike fell over, or you crashed on that side, and that gets bent, which throws your mechanism out of alignment. A lot of times you'll go to adjust the gears and you'll get the first few gears to work really well, then the other ones don't work so well. That is because the hanger's bent, because you'll get the other ones working good, and then the first few will go out. Unfortunately, unless you have one of these tools, which is expensive, you're probably gonna have a hard time aligning this. You could make something, to do that, but it's not gonna work as good as a tool for it, obviously. And this allows you to true the hanger to the wheel. Which, like I said, this one was just a little bit out, but I could literally see it without the tool. Like I could see that it wasn't straight, even if it's just a little bit. But it's like anything else. You work on enough stuff, you start knowing the nuances of things without needing the tools to do anything. I always like throwing that on before I even start adjusting, because half the time you just do double the work. Working good. Check the chain. Chain's fine. Doesn't have that many miles on it. Another season or two out of that if they actually ride it. Which half of them don't. But a handful of people here. Is nobody chatting, or what is the deal? Fine. But yeah, if you wear a chain out and you don't change it in time, then you'll actually start wearing the gears. They'll need replaced. If you go way too long, then you need the front ring replaced as well. Unfortunately, on these lower end bikes, that's replacing the whole thing. You can't just change these gears; they're permanently attached to the crank. On nicer bikes, then they are separate, and you can replace just the rings, which ends up being a little bit cheaper. But you got to spend a little bit more money to start with. But it depends on the bike. And we're not even talking about like going to several $100 crank. We're talking about the difference between a $25, $30 crank and a $50 crank. The back end on this one is pretty much done. I'm still going to throw a wrench on everything, because that's what you get when you pay for a tune-up. You're getting, if they're actually doing what they're supposed to do, they should be putting a wrench on everything, making sure everything's tight. Good. surprised how many cranks I have to replace because people put pedals in, never tightened them, and then the pedal comes loose and they just basically waller it right out of the crank arm, and then they end up trying to put it back in and cross thread it. So that ends up being a lot of replacements there. It's just silly, some of the stuff you see. It looks good on true, pretty good. Spokes look good. Try to clean the spokes and stuff every time I do a service. What happens a lot of times, they use like cheap loops and stuff, and they go all over everything, and it can cause some corrosion and stuff. So trying to keep them clean makes things last a little bit longer. You know, like I said, that is the biggest thing with bike maintenance. Is just keeping things clean. Like, it doesn't hurt them to get dirty, just clean it from time to time. For cleaning, I mostly just use rubbing alcohol. It's a minor degreaser. How's it going, Sonia? It dries really easy. If you need more than that, then you probably need a lot more work than just some basic maintenance and cleaning. If I can get these marks off, like it's kind of donezo. These adjustable stems come loose pretty easily too. You gotta make sure you put a wrench on everything on those, because they will come loose, and then you have a big safety issue. This is a slipper torque wrench. It's preset. I've got it set to 5, which is pretty standard for this size. Instead of changing tool or changing the adjustment on them, I normally leave the tool preset. I have multiple, and they're already set with the size that I kind of associate with their torque. So generally a 4 mil would stay around 4 Newton meter torque, 5 around 5, 6 around 6 is kind of the way that most of them stay. So instead of adjusting the tools, I just have a few of them, and I just keep the bit in them that they normally go with. Now, if I move over torques and some of the others, that'll change, but for the most part, the size is usually pretty indicative of the actual torque spec. Like I was saying earlier about the angled valve, I've got to pull this off anyways to do that. I'm going to also do something else to this bike, because that didn't do. So again, like I was saying earlier, this causes more flats than most things, because this will basically create a pocket on this side of the valve because of this angle, and that'll cause a rupture eventually. And then you have a flat tire. Also, the other thing that happens if this is an angle is the rim will actually bite into the valve, and it'll cause it to lose seal. So pretty easy to fix that. You just let the air out of the tire, grab a hold of the tire, and then you should be able to adjust the rim to straighten that. And now, valve is straight. This bike has something that is super annoying, and I try to replace and fix them every time. If you have this style of brake, which is a V brake, which is weird because it looks more like a U, but that's a whole different brake. If you have the long ferrule here on this noodle, this is about the normal length one. If you have the long one, that means there's a spring in here. And no matter what you do to this brake, I don't know if you can see that there, no matter what you do to this brake, it'll always be squishy. See? Watch the focus, you fuck. And it won't focus because I don't have enough hands. Let's see if I can do this in a way that it'll focus on this so you can see what I'm talking about. See that squish in there? That's because there is a spring in this. That is solvable. You can fix that. You would be best to replace the inner cable, which is what I'm going to do. And it'll make this brake feel way better because right now, it will always feel squishy. Because of that spring. Every single one of these that come in with that I remove because they make the brake feel like crap. So I could replace the whole noodle, but all I'm actually going to do is remove the spring. So you pull the cable out, the inner should come with it. You separate that, and then in here is a spring. You take this and you throw it away. And you put it back together. The other thing you want to do if you do remove the spring is clip this extra plastic off. Just cut it off. Now, I can replace the inner with a new one because it's hard to get it back through there once you've got it all boogered up. I'm going to leave the housing, it's fine. I am going to put a ferrule on here though. Yeah, I know, this is not as exciting as the wheel build and the bike build, but if you work on bikes at all, or your own, there should be some good information here nonetheless. And then you feed your cable back through. And you put it back together. And like this brake will feel like a brand new brake and just getting rid of that spring. The whole idea of that, and when they first designed that, was to like limit your power, but then you never feel the brake. It always feels like it's squishy or just not working. So getting rid of that spring, you'll actually feel the impact of the pad to the rim, which lets you know when you can apply more force. If you can't feel that, you're just basically just squeezing for everything you got, and it doesn't do anything. If you're setting up your tension, you can hold, like I'm holding the cable there, squeeze the brake a little bit. And it's set. So what I did there is I was holding the cable, squeezed the brake just a little bit, and let the cable feed into the brake when I did that. And then when I tightened it, it's exactly set where I wanted it. And now the front brake's all set up. I'm going to adjust this. This side's moving more than this side. The tire is centered, so it's not a wheel center issue. So we're going to tighten this screw. And now they move equally. I guess that tune-up time was pretty quick because this thing is pretty much done. I clean the wheel, the front wheel a little bit, and then we move on to the next one. Overall, this bike's not in bad shape, just had some minor things. But in the long run, the bike will be in better shape. The customer will be able to go ride the bike and be happy. Didn't have any wheel true issues on this one. It's all pretty straight. That feels good. Snug, tight. So this one is good to go. Brakes feel good, shifts good, tires are up. Should be a happy customer. I say should be. You can't make everybody happy. One second. Sorry about that. Okay, this one's all done. Snap all these. Mark the my done mark. It would be nice to have more space in here one day. But too much crap in the way. Welcome back. Got the one done and now I'm working on the other. adjust this reflector down. So I have a mark where the seat height's supposed to be. As much as I don't like reflectors, this is one good benefit to them is I can adjust the seat without losing their spot. You got to be careful on some bikes if they've paid for a proper fitting. Like you don't want to lose their stuff. Guess we're gonna start with they are low tires. I guess since the tires are low, I should probably inflate them for the time being, and then check the pressure again when I'm done. And if it changes, then I need to. I'll need to change the tubes. I don't think this tire's ever been inflated like properly. It just seated. Interesting. And this brake rubs. You gotta fix that. Well, we've had the back one up. The front one has not been. At least not anytime soon. I don't want that to get loose. Some light here, right? See what the hell I'm doing. Alright, that one's fine. I can adjust that one out. Yeah, Robert, that showcase was pretty good. Definitely a lot of fun stuff coming up. Excited for some of them. Ugh. This one's got doo-doo wire internal retainers. Now will they stay? No, sharp zip ties. No. We don't have that. Which worse, loose ones or sharp ones? I think both suck. It's good to get a good flush cut, even though I beat the shit out of these. Oh, well, I mean, they've been doing that since they announced it, Robert, like for the new class. I think they want it to be a surprise. Because even when they first announced they named it was the Vessel of Hatred from the last, like the announcement of what was it, BlizzCon? Or whatever, like the last one. They didn't say what it was then, so like I'm assuming they want it to be like a surprise. I don't know what it would be if they did one. Like my guess would be something more of like either a caster, or I was gonna think they were gonna do was the spear one from 2, but they say it's gonna be brand new, so I don't know. Like it's I think they mentioned it being a brand new class that it's never been. As far as I know, it's supposed to be brand new to the franchise, unless that was the one for the other Diablo. So I'm not sure. Like I thought it was going to be something brand new to the franchise. Anyhow, I've got air in these tires. I got them at 100. I will check them when I'm done. That's good. I'm gonna take this wheel loose, make sure it's centered. Yeah, I know D3 had one. That's why I say I don't think it's going to be a Paladin. What I'm saying is when they mentioned it last time, they said it was going to be brand new to the franchise. So it should be nothing we've ever had in Diablo as a class. So that's my guess. At least that's what I remember them saying when they unveiled the DLC. I mean, that's kind of the point. If it's going to be brand new, then it could be anything, you know? Is that rubbing free? Or spring? That's just way out of adjustment. Very tight. Sounds good for my house. I've got the noise out. Ooh, that cable no good. Let's put a cable in this. That is slushy. Feels like I'm pulling the cable through syrup. That's no good. So this type of break, pretty easy to do. The cable, you pull the cover off. Try not losing the screws, which we all lose them sometimes. And inspect the spider habitat, because there is always spider webs in here. Always. Alrighty. Hopefully that internal runs long ways, but just to be safe, there's a trick to run internal without fighting it too much. Especially if the housing goes to a certain direct distance. I'm going to take and leave the cable attached, pull this ferrule off, leave the cable inside here. I'm going to feed that partially into the new housing, and then I'm going to pull it through. Come on. And I pulled the cable through the frame. Yeah, it's a little bit more resistant. Should be. That's why I don't like lubed housing. Lubed housing causes more trouble then it's worth. What happens, and people will argue with you all day long about this, is like lube improves it, but it doesn't. Dirt and dust collect in the lube and make this gummy, and it will just be gross, and you'll have resistance, and then your shifting doesn't work very good. So, don't use lubed cables; they're crap. I always just use unlubed, and then I use stainless cables, and then they work for a long time. I won't say forever because that is a long time, but they work for a long time. You'll get several years out of it without too much issue. Yeah, it's sticky. I don't like the way this is routed personally. I would have personally done opposites, that way this doesn't rub against the frame. But what can you do? It's the way it is. I don't like these frame inserts. They're not very good. Feels good. And then this one we will just kind of match the length. How does this one feel? That one's okay. I think I'm going to change it as well. And for the rear one, we'll just match it. If you are replacing cables and you don't have the ferrules on here, you want to give a little bit of room so you can get a match. So I kind of go about there to the ferrule, or you can just remove the ferrules. And like I had it matched up, it's pretty much exactly. I don't need to match them because I can throw it on there and know the length, but still, like, it's nice to have it the same as it was. I really do, well, back on the topic of the showcase, I really wish they would show gameplay of Fable. It looks really good, but I would like to actually see some gameplay of that. The cinematics are cool and all, but that would be nice to see, like, the actual game. I'm glad they showed some of that midnight game, like the actual gameplay, because I'm excited for that one. I'm not sure how much I really want to play the Indiana Jones game. That one, like, it looks interesting, but I just don't know, you know? Alright, on cable replacement, when you go to do the settings, make sure you're all the way let off. all you need to do is pull the cable snug and tighten it. It's done. That simple. Looks like I have customers. I will be right back. Get to look at the bike and be bored. Tire kickers. My sister-in-law made this for me. No, I should say late sister-in-law. Kind of sad. We've had like 100 people here and not a single look. Like how we. Seems to be good, pretty good. I think I'm gonna go ahead and replace the front cable because that just feels like it takes more effort than I'd like it to. What is that brake cable doing? Should have been routed different. I'll reroute that. Why does none of this stuff have ferrules? What are they doing? It's really annoying. Do they not care about fuel life at all? It's so weird. I didn't get this a little too much. Down wrong. this thing doing? It's being goofy. Did I lose something? Let me take this brake caliper loose. It's being weird. Oh, I know why it's being weird. That's not the right bolt. The hell is that? Took this brake loose to adjust it, and the bolt doesn't actually fit in the recess. That's not good. On the bright side, I know I have a bolt. Because I keep all of them. See, there's a bolt. Just had to find one. Yeah, that's the wrong bolt. Why is it? Why was that? That's a thing. Weird. It makes sense why this brake was all jacked up. That'll work better. Yeah, that'll be better. Sorry, I can't really show you exactly what I'm doing. Just know that it was wrong. It is now right. Actually works like it's supposed to. And it's routed right. Now I just gotta get it tight again. That feels better. Can't loosen it just a smidge. I don't think how tight that is. That's better. You kind of want them tightened to the point where this is parallel. It's kind of the way that I set up brakes. That feels natural to me. Yeah, that had the wrong bolt. No wonder that brake worked at all, because it wasn't sitting in the recess. It was like there's like a plane here, and then the recess is in here. The bolt was sitting on top, so it was all crooked and doing weird stuff. And we will put the spider house back together. here. Cap on. Zip tie on that one because that one's going to come loose if you just use the clip. It's tight. Use the small one. Zip tie that in place, that way it doesn't rub. That one doesn't have to be tight, just has to hold it over. It still feels like it's off. I haven't got the front wheel yet. Ooh, that's a little off. We don't fix that. All right. That's fine. Feels good. This chain's a little icky, so I'm gonna just rub a little bit off the surface. It's like we use Bondo without hardener on it. Yeah, it's a little lazy. I'm gonna put a cable on the front. I don't like that one. It's not long enough. crap. Here, definitely replace that. You can do it. You'd think that this would be the live people would be asking questions, but apparently not. Let's get a new cable in here. Terrible. I'm going to cut that length. And then again, we'll just match this length for the housing. What I do is I just try to adjust this so it looks symmetrical. If I were fresh stringing, then I would just cut them to match, but this is just replacing. Pretty easy, just follow the route it right over the top. That's no fun. Why'd you do that? Get them ear tags and put on those things. Replace both the shift cables on this because they were sticky, and now they work a little easier. Alrighty. Shifting, rear brake's good. Now I gotta mess with the front brake. I love my new stand. It's so much nicer than what I had before. Well, I mean, what happens is like people like the slick lube cables, and I don't because they get sticky. And then after about a year or so, they start gumming up and getting like just really sluggish. Like you go to shift and it feels like you're pulling the cable through like syrup. I don't like that. I use so Jaguar, which is the brand that makes these housings, make two different versions. They have made the LEX SL, which is slick lube, and these are the regular LEX, which is lined, um, external, internal lined. It's nice, simple, and then I use just stainless cables, and they just work. You don't have to fiddle with them. You don't need to lube them. But the others, the lubricant that they use just gets dust and dirt collected in them, and they just start getting really gummy and yucky. But we've replaced them. Almost every other like tune-up I do are replace cables because they're just the simplest to fix things. Usually I replace brake cables too, but these are fine. Like if I were to replace these, I actually replace the housing with a better housing. They make a brake housing that is very similar to shift housing where, I can show you. So this is a standard brake housing structure. You have your external housing, your internal spiral structure, and then your internal housing sleeve. And this makes up your standard brake housing. When you go to a compressionless, you go to a shift style housing, which you have your external sleeve, internal sleeve, a straight line structure. So when you squeeze the cable, there's no way for it to actually compress, and then another internal sleeve. And these are what you want for any mechanical disc brakes because when you squeeze the lever, you don't want flex. I can actually show you if I can get it to focus. So if you watch this housing, and I squeeze it, you'll see it move. And that's because the housing, like, I think if you watch here, see that movement? That's because the housing flexes. And going to a better housing for disc brakes fixes that because there's no way, like essentially this one will compress, but these do not. Like this is a normal shift housing here. So the right cables make a big difference. Yeah, it's funny. I made this because people ask questions all the time, and then also if let's say you have an old bike and you put a ton of miles on it and you wear the chain out and you don't replace the chain, what happens is this is a worn out cog on it with a brand new chain. You see that gap there? That is because the chain no longer works on this housing or this gear. And if you take and put a brand new chain on a worn out cog, it will skip because they wear together. And also, when they talk about chain stretch, some people think that what's happening is these get longer, but that's not what happens. What happens is these pins, they move around in here and they waller out the link next to it, and eventually they will snap. So that's the danger of not replacing the chains. But some people, like I have a guy that comes in, I am not exaggerating, with an over $10,000 bike. It's titanium, full carbon, red, electronic shift, everything. Wants me to put a chain on this bike. I can't just put a chain on the bike. He needs a cassette, he needs gears, he needs everything, because he has worn that bike to the point where you just can't do it. And he's like, I can put a chain on it. And he wants me to do that. I can't, because it's just going to skip and he's going to blame me for some shit. Because he's waited so long to service that bike, instead of $100 chain, because it's a high-end bike, it's going to be a $700 or $800 job because he's delayed it. And I swear on everything I know that his Mercedes probably never had an oil change. Because if he's going to go that long on that bike without servicing it and then complain about what it needs, nothing else he's got gets maintained. So yeah, that's like when I sell a high-end bike, the first thing I do, I give them a chain checker and tell them to check it religiously, like check it all the time, because it's not going to be just a $60 or $80 chain. It's going to be a $500 cassette, and that's not fun. Especially that silver one back there. Cassette on that bike is $500. That $80 chain is way cheaper to replace, but you have to replace it in time. So. How's it going, Trey? How are you? The bike is better than it was. I've got a bunch done to it. I replaced all the shift cables and got the brakes working. Did you ever get your shifting working better? I know you were having issues with it, and then you said it worked a little better. That's right. I knew you were going to the park again. Hopefully, it's less eventful than last time. Alrighty. Well, like I said, you get to messing with that. Like I said, we can call and get that sorted out for you. If you weren't like heading off in a minute there, I'd show you the process now, since I'm in the moment. Even though this one's all working like it should be. It's easy to throw it off and fix it. Oh, you're welcome. This thing's in way better shape than it was when it came in. Just make sure everything's tight. Got everything adjusted. No play in the headset. I hate reflectors. As much as I hate Icora. I've got to go. I mean, anyhow, I'm pretty much done with this one. The only thing I need to do is check the tire pressures and then top that off. But yeah, I think I had a phone call, that's why I had to end the stream. But this one's done. I don't really have anything else service-wise to do today. So yeah, I think I will see you guys next Sunday for another. I'm just gonna do like Sunday service. Kind of a play on words, but yep. Hopefully next week I have some more things to work on instead of this one. But yep. See y'all next week. Later, everybody.